camera could focus.
It should be. I have no idea about the audio though, so you're gonna have to test that.
Okay.
I think it should be good. We shouldn't have any problems.
All right. You're good to go. I can hear you good.
And you?
Let's see. Yes.
All right.
Perfect.
Well, we are finally back after a long hiatus. There are no real excuses, to be honest. Uh, you were talking about your physical therapist.
Yes. So, my physical therapist has suggested that I cut wheat out of my diet. He believes that after my accident, I have become more susceptible to foods that cause inflammation. And wheat is one of the most well, I don't know how to word that. It's wheat is literally in everything, so it's usually the leading cause of any inflammatory response for eating food. Um, as we've probably all heard about by now, gluten is awful for you in high quantities, and since wheat and wheat byproducts are basically in everything, you're consuming a lot of those harmful nutrients into your body, which can cause a plethora of different things, apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
I have celiac disease, and that doesn't stop me.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I didn't have an issue eating wheat products beforehand. I did know that the way that we grow and cultivate wheat in our country is awful. And I've known that it is a neurotoxin, at least because of the products that we spray it with, how we keep it alive, the soil it's grown with, all of that um, all contributes to the fact that wheat is pretty bad for you. Um, but that being said, I'm gonna try my best to get products that either don't have wheat or products that have wheat that was grown correctly. The way we grow wheat today is awful for your body. Um, and I'm going to do that for 30 days and see if my headaches go away. But I'm not too hopeful with that.
All right, that seems interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how that'll go.
So am I. It's going to be pretty hard. Like I said, everything has wheat. Anything that has sucrose, glucose, fructose, basically any of those sugars are all byproducts of wheat. And so if you see those in any items, that item contains wheat. Um, Companies also have a special name for wheat flour and wheat products, and the reason they have a special name is because it's a synthetic form of wheat, and that one's particularly bad. But I forget the names of those.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at this point, it comes down to a George Carlin quote: "It's all bullshit, and it's all bad for you."
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
So I don't know.
yeah, I have an update on our Twitch thoughts.
Oh,
As you know, the last time we talked about this, I have a thing against hot tub streamers.
right.
Twitch has made a new category for hot tub streamers called pools.
Oh, okay.
So, not only is this a thing, but now Twitch is. I just blanked on the word. I just had a brain fart. Encouraging it.
Encouraging it?
Yeah, Twitch is now encouraging this.
Wow. Okay.
So apparently, pools is now a thing. So I now have to check this out. I'm going to type
So
in pools in the search. Oh
they're
my
like
god, it's a
in
thing.
kiddie pools?
Yep, here we go. If you type in pools on the Twitch search bar, the first category that pops up is pools, hot tubs, and beaches.
Yep. The whole dedicated thing.
Oh my god, look at all of them.
Dude.
I just clicked it. There's one. Oh, there's a couple dudes in here.
What even is this?
Oh my god, there's. Have you seen those animated AIs?
No. Oh.
Like those avatars things?
Oh, yes, yeah.
There's one of those.
Oh, God.
Oh, there's a lot of those. The fuck has happened to the internet?
I have no idea. I'm gonna click on one of these just for research purposes. Oh my god, this is bad.
You think?
Yeah. What the fuck?
I haven't clicked one. I'm just going through them, to be honest.
Would it be bad if I type into this particular one's chat that I'm looking at and said, go watch our channel. We're currently reacting to these.
I don't think that would be a good idea, because, quite frankly, I believe they will try to get us banned from Twitch.
Probably.
And I'd rather not test that.
Yeah.
We've said some things on here already that could get us in trouble. I'd rather not tempt fate.
There's a lot of weird comments in this one.
Any that stand out?
Yeah, one says that I'm chugging the water now.
That sounds like a sexual fetish.
Yeah, geez, the weather's so good at your place. Germany, it's currently raining. Oh, it's not too good.
Oh, oh god.
So we pissing in the pool or what?
Yeah, you know what? Do they actually get out? Like, I don't think I've ever seen them get out.
This particular one that I'm watching, she's sitting on a lawn chair in a bikini. So she's not even in the actual thing right now. But apparently she has a sub goal going. And has another like live feed. This is so weird.
I think that's weird. There's one on here that's German, 18 plus. The Germans shit on their chest for fucking sexual fetish. I don't think I want to know what they do on that stream.
One person said, "How is this allowed on Twitch?"
Yeah, how is this allowed on Twitch?
It's borderline pornography.
It's softcore. It's like one step above petting. So my hatred for Twitch thoughts go up once more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wouldn't be so bad if a lot of these titles didn't have like the water squirt emoji in it.
This lady, she responded to a comment that someone had put here. Someone said, how is this allowed on Twitch? And she said, this has been allowed for months. And I said, yeah, I kind of want to comment and say, yeah, and video gaming has been allowed since the beginning.
It was always about video gaming.
Yeah.
I'm literally just watching this one chick just dance in a hot tub while in a bikini.
Yeah, I'm leaving that stream. I'm gonna go to something else. That's
This
so
is
bad.
one step above softcore porn at this
Yeah,
point.
pretty much.
It it might as well just go all the way.
We should name our thing your new. your... Oh God.
And it's not even a fucking hot tub. It's one of those inflatable pools.
We should rename our stream your new hot tub streamer. I don't.
Oh god, should we move on from this topic?
Probably.
Okay, I'm getting away from the porn, or sorry, borderline porn. You talked about in a message that you were talking to a lawyer. Is that something you can talk about on stream, or?
Yeah, not enough people watch this that I know, so none of my coworkers do, so it should be fine. But been talking to my lawyer about my work-related accident that I had, and we're starting to put together a case. Um, he is waiting for my medical records to be released, but he's been doing a lot better of a job of making sure that workers' comp is actually paying me properly and diagnosing everything properly. For example, when I first got injured, I went to the emergency room and was admitted there. Um, and at the emergency room, the doctor that looked at me or whatever, he said he had a lot of questions for me, and he's like, you've had a severe concussion, but you didn't become unconscious, so that's good for you because if you became unconscious, you'd probably be dead. um, so you also had a cervical strain, which is typical inside of a car accident, a car-related accident. You also have a shoulder strain and a some other type of strain. I forget what it is. Um, so I had a concussion and multiple strains throughout my body, and injuries throughout my body, and workers' comp didn't want to claim any of that originally. They wanted to say that I just hit my head. So in their opinion, I just had a head injury, which isn't correct. It's not correct because of how workers' comp pays you. In order to get paid your full pay, you have to be disabled to a certain percentage. So, with just a head injury, that means that I only got 60% of my pay. So that sucked. But adding all of those other things brought me up to 100% disability, which is what it should have been from the beginning.
Huh.
So my lawyer argued with them and told them, look, you guys aren't even saying what the doctor said. This guy is literally stuck at home, having severe headaches, having major back pain, not being able to do a whole lot physically. And he needs compensation for that. He needs to be paid for his loss of time. And so they've battled it out or whatever, and now I have the full disability, which means that they're going to be paying me 100% of my pay, and they are going to have to back pay me as well for the other paychecks that they gave me that were only at 60%.
Okay, so this basically sounds like it's all being taken care of in like a back room.
Pretty much. I mean, I don't really talk to my lawyer all that much. And he is very confident that he seems very confident that we'll be able to make sure that I'm compensated properly, and that my company is held responsible for what they've done.
Okay, so this isn't something that's going to go to court.
It can go to court.
It can?
It can, yeah. So right now we're not going to be doing anything towards workers' comp because they've been working with us. But the difference is that our company doesn't want to accept. My company doesn't want to accept that they were negligent, and so that might be battled. basically, if they claim that they're negligent, that means that they obviously have to pay me for any suffering and loss of time and all that stuff. But they don't want to accept that.
Didn't you say that the airbags didn't deploy?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with this situation.
Yeah,
So
and that
not
you were
only,
going a speed that if you did that when a crash happens or any sort of accident, they should have deployed but didn't.
yeah, I was going roughly 40 miles an hour when I came to an abrupt stop, which in most vehicles would cause the airbags to deploy, which would have kept me from hitting my head against the steering wheel. There's a couple of issues as far as the van goes, my work vehicle. Uh, the airbags didn't deploy. But on top of that, they had to, like weeks later, they took my van to a shop to see if it had any damages or anything like that, and they had to repair it. So that also meant that not only did the airbags not deploy in the event of my accident, but the vehicle was not safe for me to drive away from that accident, which further kind of shows how negligent my company was with that incident.
Is that something
Um,
that's been brought up with your lawyer?
yeah, my lawyer's aware of that. One of the more recent things, as far as my vehicle goes for work, my coworker has told me, well, he's my coworker, is what I consider him, but he is my supervisor. He has told me that my boss, my manager, has emptied my van out completely and that it's just sitting there. So I don't know what that means. I'm kind of worried about that, specifically because I have another coworker that is also injured. He hurt himself in a completely different accident and in a different way, but he still has his vehicle. It's still fully stocked. They haven't asked for it back, but they've made it prevalent that they needed my vehicle back, and now it's empty and doesn't have any equipment in it. So
So
this raises the question
that
whether or
that
not they're
means
even
like
going to
one
ask
of
me
two things.
back. Hmm.
Either after all this is done, they're gonna fire you,
Yeah,
or it was such a major fuck up that they're now actually worried that if anyone touches this vehicle, they're gonna get sued.
right. So they're not legally, they can fire me if they want to. And in my particular state, which is the state of Oregon, they don't have to tell me why they're letting me go. However, because I have an AAL, an attorney at law, um, they have to tell my lawyer why they are letting me go from the company. And it's not the best move for them to do that because then we can counter suit them. So I don't know which way they're going. I don't know if they just took the equipment off the van so that they could clean it, and get it ready for me when I get back. But that's not sounding like it. It sounds like they don't want anything to do with that van. So they're probably seeking to replace it, is what I would think. But that means that I don't have a work vehicle um, potentially when I get back, and that means that I'm gonna have more time off, which sucks. So
It does seem a little weird on why they would do that.
yeah, um, I don't know. I don't personally feel like I'm at 100%. Like, for example, I've been trying to do stuff and stay active, but I have noticed and I've found that if I'm out in the sun for longer than 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, I get like a massive migraine and just don't want to be outside anymore. And it sucks and I find it hard to focus. Um, Also, if I'm doing any strenuous activity, my lower back hurts severely to the point where I feel like I have to sit down and like take a couple of minutes to relax, which sucks because, um, it's taking away time from what I want to do with my girlfriend. We had plans, I can't do anything that I want to do this summer, which sucks. And my manager blatantly, was like, "Oh, I hope you enjoy this vacation." But it's not really a vacation.
Like you're you're dealing stuff that's taking away from your personal life.
Yeah. Plus,
Essentially.
I'm also, I'm uh, gonna be making lifestyle changes now because of this incident. Um, I don't mean to play the victim and try to seek pity out of people, but
Yeah, if
just
anything,
change.
I imagine you're more of you just want this fucking dealt with.
Yeah, I'm a hardworking person. I enjoy working, and it sucks to be stuck at home. Um, and I mean, this pandemic has forced a lot of us to stay home, but I was one of the fortunate individuals to stay
Yeah,
essential.
as I have made people well aware, like I've said it before on stream, that I see a therapist now.
Hmm.
And one of those things that we are talking about is I'm apparently agoraphobic.
Mm.
Didn't want to believe it at first, but it's confirmed now. And the pandemic has kind of like reinforced those bad habits, of not going out, not wanting to go out, wanting to stay in.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's something I'm currently trying to deal with.
Right.
Because I have a therapy thing, like of trying to do things, and it's like, oh, you should try to go out more, try to increase the rate you go out, which is what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, I also really don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah. That's the kind of the other side of being agoraphobic and trying to get past it.
Yeah. So
Um, yeah, there's something to be said about wanting to stay home though.
yeah, and like here's one thing we can talk about. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm assuming you have the Bad Batch.
Yes.
How is it?
Uh, it's pretty good.
Is it the continuation of the Clone Wars we want?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, it takes place immediately at Order 66,
Yeah,
which
that I know.
I love. Oh my god, it's so good. And Tarkin is involved.
Of course.
He's trying to prove that the clones are awful, and that they don't work, and that he can make better troops. Anyway, there's a whole political thing that's going on, which I really appreciate. It's done in the Clone Wars art style, but it's updated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
It looks sharper, it looks more clean. The shadows really amaze me, like the lighting.
Yeah.
It has amazed me. They're probably using RTX ray tracing technology to get that lighting because it just looks phenomenal. Um, the smoke effects, everything in that is just so updated and it looks so good. Plus the story, right? Like,
How many episodes are out?
there's 4 total right now.
Okay, how
Uh,
many episodes is it gonna be?
I don't know. I would imagine that there's probably only gonna be 10.
Okay.
Each
I
episode's roughly 30 to 40 minutes long.
I'm debating on whether or not I want to watch it now and then continue watching it as each episode comes out, or if I just want to wait and then binge it all.
Man, it is super easy to binge it all. I will say that. It doesn't feel like there's filler yet. With any show, there's always going to be some filler episodes and stuff, so we'll see what happens there. Um, the first episode, though, it is like an hour and a half long, I think. Um,
Yeah.
that episode is a little rough. And what I mean by that is the whole pandemic situation. They had to film the actors in different locations with different equipment, and you can definitely pick up on that, which I did really appreciate. So it's a little bit of a rough start from a theatric, I guess, from a cinema aspect.
Yeah.
Um, but it's still pretty good. It definitely still adds to the story and starts it off on the right foot. As we know, the Bad Batch, they aren't like your regular group of clones. And it's kind of interesting to see their dynamic, and it wasn't I was going into this thinking that I wouldn't like the idea of the Bad Batch, but so far it's pretty interesting, and it plays a role to the whole uh, timeline and how things got to where they became. How the Empire started, how it all came to be. They also kind of go into some detail about how the civil side of things, like the civilian side of things, and like everyone's excited that the war is over, and so you have the richer systems, which are just like, oh yeah, the war's over, and then you have poorer systems that are starting to be taken over, and you're starting to see that, and it's really interesting how they've done it.
Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see the in between. You had the Republic, and then now you have the Galactic Empire, and they're making credits as we know them worthless. They're worthless, 100%. But you can trade in your credits for Imperial credits without a fee or anything, just a direct thing. And they're trying to make it sound like it's this grandiose thing that the generous Emperor has bestowed upon the civilians. And the richer people are like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And the poorer people are like, well, that sucks because this has really helped me. Chain codes are a thing, so they're wanting each
Yeah.
citizen to be serialized, which kind of adds some hardship to the Bad Batch because they're clones, so it's very hard for them to be anything other than that. It's interesting to see that right now, at least, clones are kind of running everything. There's only like very select, very few missions that have regular people as stormtroopers, which they're not called stormtroopers right now. They're still clones. So they haven't even picked a name for what they're going to be calling their regime.
I do know that they changed the clone armor again, and now they made it pure white to take away the personality of the clones.
Yes, yeah, that's the one thing that we see is it's kind of like Gen 1 armor, but it's still in the style of Gen 3 as far as clone armor goes. It's kind of weird because these clones obviously are designed to follow orders. Um, and right now they're kind of all brain controlled. They all have that inhibitor chip, so they're following orders that back in before 66 they wouldn't necessarily do. Like there's some circumstances where clones are told to um, get rid of civilians, and that's
Yep.
kind of a hard thing to watch because you're seeing these clones who all have the voice that we understand and know to be clone troopers um, take care of business, so to speak. um, and it's kind of hard to watch. You're sitting here like, wow, you guys were you know the peacekeepers and um, now you're an authoritarian, and it kind of just looks bad.
Well, it's honestly not that different from Legends at this point, then.
Mm.
Because in Legends, there were orders far worse than Order 66.
Right.
Like, one of them was to start executing civilians until the Jedi that they thought was there came out of hiding.
And I'm sure that'll start to happen later.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to give too much away, but they have a special humanized group, um, and that group is ruthless. They literally murder people. And in Star Wars fashion, they don't ever show people dying or anything like that. The camera always kind of pans away from the situation.
Have we seen Vader yet?
We have not, which makes me kind of sad. And he hasn't even been talked about, which is kind of true for the time because
yeah, he was
not
mysterious for a long time, like
Yeah,
after Order 66. We only knew that he was the enforcer.
there weren't a lot of people that understood clearly that he was top dog. And so that's pretty prevalent right now in that we haven't really talked about him at all. He's not even mentioned or shown. There's nothing that alludes to him being in the universe at all.
I'm willing.
Um,
I'm willing to bet something that Vader is going to show up. He is going to make an appearance, but it's not going to be till the end. And I guarantee you, his job is going to be to hunt down Rogue Clone Force 99.
Probably. Thank you guys for joining and popping in. We're talking about some Bad Batch stuff. No spoilers. I'm trying to keep it a little light. Um, my co-host has not watched it yet, which is not a bad thing. It's perfectly reasonable to me to want to wait till the whole season's out to binge it.
Yeah,
But
like
as far as like even Jedi go, they haven't really been shown. I think maybe in the first episode was the only time, if I remember correctly.
I
That there
do
were
know
even
that
Jedi.
they showed off Kanan Jarrus as a Padawan.
Yes, they do. Which they they happen to get away from the situation because of the Bad Batch.
Yeah,
Um, which is nice. So there are still some Jedi in the universe, obviously. But you don't really see them after that point. So that character is definitely going to be coming back at some point in time. Um, you have other issues within the group of the Bad Batch, which is kind of interesting to see.
yeah.
Um, there's conflict because they're not exactly the most loyal clones, so to speak. They're certainly not that loyal to each other. At least that's very evident in the show. Um, and you have some clones within their organization that want to, or within their group that want to be good troopers, and good troopers follow orders. You
Good
hear that a lot.
soldiers follow orders, sir.
Yeah, yeah. So that kind of thing kind of comes up a lot. Um, you have the whole fucking uh, what's her name? Omega.
Yeah.
You have Omega's character, which she still doesn't have a role yet.
But I
She's
was right. She is not only the last clone, she's the only female clone that we know about.
Yes. So she is she's kind of like made an well, she's kind of proven herself that she can kind of take care of herself, but she's still very much a child, and we don't quite know what makes her special. The Kaminoans definitely think that she is the most special thing, and they are keeping her a secret, and they do it in such a good way that keeps it away from Tarkin, that he doesn't even realize that that's a clone. Which, by looking at her, you can't really tell that she's a clone.
Yeah,
Um,
she not only she's female, but she doesn't really look like Boba or anything.
yeah, she doesn't even sound like him,
Yeah,
right? She has her
we've
own voice.
seen the children clone troopers before, and she does not look like one.
Yeah. So she's not one of that has really shown her purpose yet.
Yeah,
She's kind of just tagging along. So far, we know that she's able to pick up things, pick up skills pretty quickly. She's starting to develop that skill that Hunter has, where you can track and stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see and watch her develop.
so
Um,
I just got a message. It is from Parrish, as you know,
uh-oh.
and he says, and I quote, "I've got my eyes on you." So I believe he is in the stream right now.
He's either in the stream or he's looking at you through your window.
That could be. He knows where I live.
Yeah.
So...
It's definitely interesting. I'm interested to see where it goes,
yeah,
and what's happening. So
yeah, and again, I haven't really watched it yet. I'm deciding whether or not I want to watch it now and watch like the 4 episodes that are out, and then just watch it as it comes out every week,
yeah,
or if I'm just gonna wait till every episode's out and watch it all. But I've been watching Castlevania,
But I feel great.
nice.
and Whew. Castlevania was so fucking good, man. Like,
I
you haven't watched it?
I don't
Oh,
know much about this show.
you're missing out. It is a wonderful show. I'm not going to say anything since you haven't seen it, but yeah, it is great. Yeah, Parrish just messaged again. He said can't join chat because it's loud, and he doesn't have a Twitch account, but he's watching.
Okay.
So that has been confirmed. But yeah, watch Castlevania. It is very much worth it.
I'll have to give it a go.
Yeah, it's only 4 seasons, sadly.
And that's it?
Yeah, that's it. There's going to be no more.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
All right, another topic we have is Sir Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Sir Christopher Lee is the epitome of badass.
Seems about right. Seems like an apt description.
Have you read his facts? Like his fact
Yes.
list?
Yeah. Not only is he a phenomenal actor, he is legitimate royalty.
All right, let's go through this. He was entered into the Guinness Book of World Records in 2007 for most screen credits, having appeared in 244 films and TV movies by that point in his career, and then made 14 more movies, with the 15th due later this year, titled Angels in Nothing Hill. He holds the record for the tallest leading actor. He stood 6'5", but also for starring in most films with a sword fight, with 17.
Well, he was an actual swordsman.
Yeah,
So-
we'll get to that because there is something really funny about this. Let's see, fact number 2. His mother was an Italian Contessa, and through her, Lee descended from Emperor Charlemagne of the Holy Roman Empire and was related to Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general. Robert E. Lee is not something that I expected him to be related to.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it would be.
Let's see, fact 3. He met Prince Yusupov and Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich, the assassins of the Russian monk Rasputin. He didn't do this as research for his later film role as Rasputin, but just as a child in the 1920s.
Jesus.
Number 4. At age 17, he saw the death of the murderer Eugene Weidman in Paris, the last person in France to be publicly executed by guillotine. That's something right there.
This is a very, very interesting guy that I feel like a lot of people didn't know
Yeah,
a whole lot about.
here we go. Fact number 5. During World War II, Lee joined the Royal Air Force but wasn't allowed to fly because of a problem with his optic nerve. So he became an intelligence officer for the Long Range Desert Patrol, a forerunner of the SAS, Britain's Special Forces. He fought the Nazis in North Africa, often having up to 5 missions a day. During this time, he helped retake Sicily, prevented a mutiny among his troops, contracted malaria 6 times in a single year, and climbed Mount Vesuvius 3 days before it erupted.
What a goat.
Like, he gets back down and then all of a sudden it erupts.
Yeah, what a goat. It's like it waited for him.
Yeah. Fact number 6. At some point during the war, he moved from the LRDP to Winston Churchill's even more elite special operations executive, whose missions are literally still classified, but involve conducting espionage, sabotage and reconnaissance in occupied Europe against the Axis powers. The SOE was more informally called, and I can't believe this somehow hasn't been made into a movie yet, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. That's such a badass name.
Seems apt.
Number 7. Lee never said anything specific about his time in the SOE, but he did say this. I've seen many men die right in front of me. So many, in fact, that I've become almost hardened to it. Having seen the worst that human beings can do to each other, the results of torture, mutilation, and seeing someone blown to pieces by a bomb, you develop a kind of shell. But you had to. You had to, otherwise we would never have won. By the end of the war, he'd received commendations for bravery from the British, Polish, Czech, and Yugoslavia governments.
All of them.
4 different governments. Number 8. Speaking both French and Italian, Lee spent his time after World War II hunting Nazis with Central Registry of War Criminals and secret suspects until he decided to give acting a try at age 25. Yes, this all happened before Lee was 25 years old.
As a kid, he was a badass.
I'm 23. Just saying.
Oh my god.
All before he was 25, and he hunted down Nazis.
I was just a general badass and a legit spy.
Number 9. While filming a sword fight with a drunken Errol Flynn during the filming of The Dark Avengers in 1955, Flynn accidentally cut Lee's hand so badly his finger nearly came off and permanently injured. Later, Lee cut off Flynn's wig while Flynn was still wearing it. Flynn stormed off set and refused to come out of his trailer until Lee claimed it was an accident.
Claimed.
Yeah.
We all know it wasn't.
Number 10. While best known for his portrayal of Dracula in countless films, he also starred as the Mummy and Frankenstein's monster. Of course, he's known as Saruman in The Lord of the Rings and Count Dooku in the Star Wars prequels. But his other villainous roles include Fu Manchu, Rasputin, and Roquefort of the Three Musketeers. His portrayal is so popular, the character now inevitably appears with an eye patch, although it wasn't in the book. Lord Summerisle of The Wicker Man, the James Bond villain Scaramanga, Mephistopheles, and Death himself. Number 11. Here we go. This is for you, for what you said earlier about him being a secret agent and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
Lee was not only related to James Bond creator and author Ian Fleming, they were step cousins. But Lee was actually one of Fleming's first choice for the role of Bond, not least because of Lee's World War II and SOC experiences.
Jeez. Could you imagine a James Bond movie with him?
Yeah, he was the inspiration to James Bond.
Yep.
12. He has played Sherlock Holmes, his brother Mycroft Holmes, and also Sir Henry Baskerville of the Hound of Baskerville. 13. Tired of playing Dracula and feeling that the movies had gotten subpar, Lee tried to quit Hammer Films, but studio executives guilted him into returning by stressing how many people could be out of work if Lee stopped churning out hits.
Fair.
Lee agreed to star in the 1966 Dracula, Prince of Darkness. He felt the script was so awful, he adamantly refused to say any of the dialogue. Hammer decided that it was far more important to have a mute Lee as star as opposed to anyone else, and thus had Dracula hiss and yell through the film. 14. In the 50s, Lee was engaged to Henriette von Rosen, daughter of Count Fritz von Rosen. The Count apparently didn't like Lee, because after hiring private detectives to investigate the actor and demanding references, he also refused to allow his daughter to marry him unless Lee got the blessing of the King of Sweden. Lee got it.
Literally.
Yeah.
What an ass this dude.
15. Lee was a major Tolkien fan, reading The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy once a year for the majority of his life. He was the only member of the movie cast to have met Tolkien personally. Apparently, he ran into him randomly in a pub and fanboyed out. Tolkien actually gave him his blessing to play Gandalf in any future Lord of the Rings movie.
Perfect.
16. When Lee heard that Hollywood was going to make the Lord of the Rings trilogy into movies, he took a role in the terrible 1997 TV series The New Adventures of Robin Hood as a wizard. Specifically so he'd have cleared evidence of his ability to be a wizard. When he heard Peter Jackson would direct the films, he sent Jackson a personal letter asking to be in the movies along with a picture of him dressed up as a wizard. Unfortunately, Lee's advanced age and his natural ability to play villains made him an even better choice for Saruman.
Of course. Which is now the face of.
Yeah. 17. The story has gone around a lot, but it bears repeating because it is incredible. During his death scene in Return of the King, only included in the extended edition to Lee's disapproval, director Peter Jackson was describing to him what people getting stabbed in the back should make. Lee gravely responded that he had seen people being stabbed in the back and knew exactly what sound they made. How fucked is that? Like, picture yourself as Peter Jackson and you're trying to tell this actor what being stabbed in the back should sound like. And there's this guy just staring at you gravely like, no, this is how it should actually sound like. Trust me, I know.
He's like, I've done it. Probably. He never admitted to doing things, but he probably did it.
Oh yeah, I'm willing to bet he's like grabbed someone by the mouth and then stabbed them in the back and dragged them away into a dark corner.
He's had to have done some shit. He's like, I've seen some things, but he's never said I've done some things. We all know he has.
See, 19. He's always been a big metal fan, but he released his first full heavy metal album in 2010 at the age of 88.
Jesus.
Titled Charlemagne by the Sword and the Cross, which won the Spirit of Metal Award from 2010 Metal Hammer Golden God ceremony. He made a metal Christmas album in 2012. He was the oldest metal performer and the oldest musician to ever hit the Billboard music charts.
What a goat.
20. In addition to his impossibly prolific film career, Lee was a world champion fencer, an opera singer, spoke 6 languages, and was a hell of a golfer.
He literally did everything.
21. He was made a Knight Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire in 2009. A Commander of the Venerable Order of St. John in 1997. And letters by the French government in 2011. Earned the British Academy of Film and Television Arts Fellowship in 2011. Received the Bram Stoker Award for Lifetime Achievement in 1994, and so many more. 22. Last but not least, despite everything you heard about the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, Christopher Lee was recognized as being the most connected actor in the world in 2008, again by Guinness. He connects to virtually any actor in 2.59 steps, beating Bacon.
Dude knew everyone, too.
Christopher Lee is the most impressive and exciting man in the world.
Yeah.
You remember those Dos Equis commercials?
Yes.
Yeah, he should have been that.
He should have been that. He is that.
Yeah,
The guy
fuck
kind of
Chuck
looks like him.
Norris. By the way, fuck Chuck Norris completely. It's Christopher Lee.
It's Christopher Lee. Jeez.
Like, how do you? How does anyone think highly of themselves, especially after hearing all of that?
How can any accomplished actor or military personnel uh, live in his wake? That's like, he's done so much
How can an
in
average
like
person?
a very short amount of time.
He did most of this before he was 25, and everything else he did when he was like in his 80s.
Yeah.
Like, how do you? I'm 23. God damn it.
I don't know how he did it.
Climbed Mount Vesuvius 3 days before it erupted. Contracted malaria 6 times in 1 year. Stopped a mutiny. And hunted down Nazis.
Dude, by that 6th time, he was like, meh.
Yeah. Like, I imagine, just give me some, like, water. I'll be fine in, like, a week.
He's like, I've been through this. It's fine. I know what's happening. You just look at him like, are you okay?
It's just, how could, what does, imagine, like, if, I don't know if, let me see if he was married or not, because I'm actually curious. Oh, he was. They don't have any kids.
So he doesn't have any heirs.
No, that's probably a thank God moment.
The world couldn't handle an heir.
Yeah, but imagine like you're the son of Christopher Lee. You couldn't exactly compare yourself to him, you know?
No, not at all.
I'm looking to see. Oh, wait, no, they did have a child. Christina Erica Lee. She's not an actor, apparently. She was born in 1963. Yeah, but imagine if you, like, were his son and you're comparing yourself to him. You would always come up short.
Is there a comparison? You had to have gone through a world war.
He'd have to free a country from the Nazis. Like, oh, that's just unreal. So unreal. So fucking weird. I've never actually heard any of his music before either.
Neither have I, but you better believe that I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a link to his music so we can listen to it after we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Moving on after that. Are there any like shows and shit that piss you off just for existing?
I'd have to give some good thought to that.
All right, for me, it's this shit like The Bachelor and whatnot.
Uh huh.
And there's one that I just saw a commercial for today, and it's called MTV Match Me If You Can.
Oh, God. I'm guessing they have like some uh, social psychologists try to find the match for this awful human being.
No, they're all awful, and they're all like living at a house and trying to fuck each other.
Oh, God.
And I dare anyone to prove me wrong.
I think if I had to pick a show, it would be there's this fucking baking show where they get like amateur people to go in this competition,
Yeah, like,
and
yeah, if it's not that though, it's definitely 16 and pregnant.
uh, so bad.
Like, just fuck off, really.
Baking. I'm gonna look it up. Baking shows.
It's not the Great Bake Off, is it?
Nailed it.
That was it?
That's what it's called. I hate that show.
Oh my god, I just took a shot in the dark. I didn't even know that was a show.
Nailed it.
I'm just like, what are the odds? Like, I just put it out there.
No, the show is called Nailed It.
Oh.
It's not the British. I like that one. The show itself is called Nailed It, and I hate it. They get like these super awful people that just don't know how to bake at all and shouldn't be allowed in a kitchen to go bake cookies and like gourmet stuff and really good baked goods for this like renowned chef that has a Michelin star, and like it's just an awful show. If you haven't seen it, I'd suggest to watch it. It has some comedic value for sure, I guess, but I think it's the worst show ever. I don't enjoy it. I think it's too ridiculous.
So I'm assuming that it's not Gordon Ramsay.
No, no.
Damn.
It's like a renowned pastry chef of some kind. Um, but and he knows a lot about baking and gives these individuals like tips on what they could have done better and stuff. But I just feel so bad for him because I'm like, how did you see yourself here when you first started culinary school? And if not, then like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sure they're paying him handsomely or whatever, but
Most likely.
it's just awful.
Lot of fucking money.
Awful that his life has come to this.
I have something to talk about real quick. Kentaro Miura. He is the author of Berserk, a manga which I really enjoy.
Oh, I've watched Berserk.
Read the manga.
I haven't read it, but I've watched it.
Yeah, Kentaro Miura. He has passed away at 58 years old due to cardiac problems.
So COVID?
No. Thank God. It was like legit cardiac problems.
That's awful.
So he's been doing Berserk for roughly 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's finally passed away. Everyone knew this day was coming. But we never wanted it to.
Oh, 58. That's still kind of young.
Yeah, but it shows how like hard that industry is on the writers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was taking like month to year long hiatuses. I don't know if Berserk's going to continue as a manga, but I do know that he supposedly has the story already done and fleshed out. Like he knows he's got it like written up to all the way to the ending.
That is a very dark show.
Dude, read the manga because it is all
So good,
it's
though.
all sorts of different.
Yeah.
But so I'm curious to see how they're gonna do his manga now that he's gone.
Yeah, I don't know. Should be interesting.
And looks like we got one last thing to talk about here.
Yep.
And I saw this on Twitter. So that's as far as my knowledge goes on this.
Neat.
But wearing a mask and getting COVID vaccinations is now being compared to that of the Holocaust.
Pretty good comparison in my point of view. From my point of view.
Really?
Yes.
Explain. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm curious to see how you got there.
So it's a good comparison in that we've seen something like this before and we've seen where it can go. So requiring citizens or people of any group, any organization, or just everyone, requiring everyone to do this. We've seen this in history before, and one of the best cases of this was the Holocaust.
Yeah, I'm not going to compare it to the Holocaust right now, but I am going to say it is getting there.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it is the Holocaust. That was a traumatic event in our history and just god-awful and terrible, right?
Yeah, to be fair, they're not killing us off yet.
Yeah, this doesn't compare to that. But we're seeing similarities. It does have some similarities with it and does correlate with it to some degree.
Yeah, it's not the Holocaust yet. But it's following the same, it's following that same path.
So Hitler made it a requirement for Jewish people to show
documentation
that they were Jewish. So it started with IDs saying that they were Jewish.
Yeah, eventually they had the Star of David that they had to wear.
Exactly. Eventually they had to wear a patch, and it used to be just a patch that would be on the front of them. Then it started to become a patch that they had to wear in front and back. Then they changed the color of it to make it more catching to the eye.
Yeah.
And all of this kind of makes it kind of alienates that group, right?
Yeah, and eventually that's when they started putting them in camps, isolating them from the rest of society.
Now, I'm not saying that they're going to make unvaccinated people do this, right? Because that's not the focus here.
Well,
the focus is with vaccinated people. So we're having states that are requiring people to carry their vaccination card so that they can get into events or do certain things or whatever you want to have happen with that. But they're requiring people to do this, which
means pretty soon everyone's going to have to be required to show off their card to prove they have been vaccinated.
Yeah,
I do know that some jobs have gotten in trouble recently because they are forcing employees to show off vaccination cards.
Yes. So we have issues like that where if you want to be employed into a certain thing as a private company, they can require you to have an adequate shot record and prove that you have that. But there's an issue with that because once you open the gate to this, which again, it's kind of started this way. We require.
Yeah, you're essentially opening the floodgates.
Yeah, so I'm not saying it's gonna end up the same way, but what I am saying is that we have to be careful with this because it could end up that way, and it is definitely traveling that way. If you start requiring people to carry ID cards and show them at every stop, every interaction that they have, then that means the people that don't have the vaccination card or any proof that they have been vaccinated for COVID-19, that means that those people are going to start to get alienated.
Yeah, it's I think people are taking out hang on, what's her name? Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is who they're talking about, and I think they may be taking her Holocaust comparison out of context.
Right.
I actually haven't heard it.
Neither have I. But I've heard the comparison made.
Yeah, this isn't the first time I've heard the comparison made to the Holocaust.
Yeah. And it's not to undermine the Holocaust. I never feel that it's to undermine.
No,
that
the
situation.
Holocaust was one of the worst events in all of human history. It was.
No one's. Yeah.
It was almost complete genocide of an entire people.
No one is saying that this is better or worse or more tragic or even just as tragic. We're
Yeah.
not. No one's saying that.
What we're saying
we've
is,
seen
yeah,
this.
the steps are there. That's the comparison. That if this, it only takes one step in a certain direction to go the same route as the Holocaust. Right now, we're getting to that fork in the road.
Yeah, and with the Jewish people, it was done in a way that made them seem that, or it was done in a way that made it seem like it was for their protection.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It started to not be for their protection, and they started to become alienated, discriminated against, treated poorly, and then ultimately we all know where it ended. So, having people show this sucks for a lot of reasons, because now you're also running into the issue of this isn't a regulated system.
Yeah.
Those vaccination cards are extremely easy to fake. Why? Because they're not actual licenses. But the issue with that is that you're going to have people that are going to want to make it a regulated system.
Yeah.
And that starts to further open those gates that end up with, some dictatorship kind of qualities.
Yeah,
and
people are getting up in arms about this comparison on Twitter. And I'm like, denying what it is and what it could potentially become is what's going to help it become that thing.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't acknowledge what this problem is now, it's eventually going to turn into it.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, that's not going to happen because people are stupid.
I don't see it as a cause for concern because of what certain states are doing. So Florida was the first to do this, for example. They're making it against the law to require this information from someone.
Of course, but it can change.
Right. We have states that are starting to say that's not a good idea for this reason. And the more states we get to do that, the better. I've tried to explain this point to my girlfriend, who is uber liberal. I wouldn't say like left-wing nut, but she's liberal with her point of views. And I've tried to explain that when you start to give up your privacy, you allow an opportunity for someone to control you. That is a fact about anything that we covet as being private. So it becomes an issue when you have to show an ID card that says you have this, because if you don't have it, or you forgot it, or some other thing happens, you have opened the gate for you to be discriminated against.
Yeah.
Even if you're following the law. So, this could just keep progressing, You eventually, if you don't have it, you're going to have to stay home, or you can be sent to prison, or fined for not having this, or fined for not having the shot or getting the vaccination, which is ultimately your choice. This all being said, I think it is important to get vaccinated, but it's your choice. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying that it's required of you. And ultimately, if we get enough people to get vaccinated, then the chances of this virus spreading they'll be mitigated, as we've seen from the CDC. Right now, I think we're at about 57% of America is vaccinated right now. So the likelihood of transmitting it the likelihood of transmission has went down significantly, to the point where someone that's not vaccinated and someone that is vaccinated, if they're standing next to each other, they're probably not going to get it, even if the person that's not vaccinated has it.
Yeah. So you agree that we should get vaccinated then?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. See, here's the thing. I choose not to get vaccinated. So this is
right.
a different. It's not because I don't necessarily agree with it. It's just that I don't want to.
It's a choice, I'm not saying we have to have 100% vaccination, because we don't need 100% in order to get rid of this virus.
No, I think they
But
said something about 60% of Americans, and that'll pretty much end it.
yeah, so requiring this means that we have an unrealistic goal that doesn't need to be set at all. And it's going to start to discriminate against people, even people that have the vaccination. Eventually, you're going to run into the issue of, oh, we have to legitimize this. This has to be a legit system. We have to create actual licenses for this. And then people that haven't gotten vaccinated aren't going to be able to obtain those licenses without getting vaccinated at all. And then you run into the issue of, okay, well, now we have to enforce this regulation because it's a legitimate license that we're requiring.
Yeah.
So if you enforce it, that means that you further discriminate people from getting it. Period.
Yeah,
You further prove that the reason why people don't want to do this is because they're being discriminated against. And if you are enforcing this rule, that means you are pushing these people further away from the goal.
I'm worried about the day that it'll come where it's going to be required by law to get vaccinated.
Yeah, you're gonna have checkpoints.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, and at that point, that's when it becomes comparable to the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm. And we've already kind of seen this with this pandemic too, as far as checkpoints go.
And not only that, it's control of the media when people don't like this, because we saw this with Gina Carano.
Mm-hmm.
No, she got in trouble and she got kicked from Star Wars because of her opinions of we're getting
misconstrued.
Yeah. Thank you. I was blanking on the word there. But yeah, she got in trouble for her words, and that's taking away her right to an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they are controlling the speech of someone who others will listen to.
Yes.
And at that point, that's kind of like the Nazis.
It is the utmost importance to keep your privacy. It is uber important to stay a private citizen, because the second that you give up even the little morsel of your privacy is the second that you're vulnerable to being attacked. And we've kind of already done that. We've already given up a lot of our privacy, which sucks for a lot of reasons. Your private information is out there. We hear about people losing their social security cards or social security numbers all of the time, because websites are using that information. And they all kind of try to disguise it as something that's good. Luckily, though, we're recently getting more of our privacy back with certain laws. Like nowadays, companies, websites are required to ask you permission to use cookies. And there's further issues with this, though, because they have a button that says allow all or cancel. And then there's a smaller button that says more information. It is important to click that smaller button that says more information. The reason being is because if you click accept, you're going to allow them to keep all of your private information. Whereas if you click that more information, you can actually say, oh, you're only allowed to use the bare minimum in order for me to use this website. The bare minimum meaning tracking what you click on their website, because it's pertinent information to them. They want to know how important it is for you to click refresh on the page, or how important it is for you to click on, for example, if you're on a gaming website, how important it is or how many people click on PC games versus PS4 games. Like, that's all statistical data that they need. Those are cookies that are required. What's not required is your personal information. They don't need to know your email address. They don't need to know your preferences. They don't need to store that information. They don't need to know how long you've been looking at something. They don't need to know any of that. But when you click allow all cookies, you're allowing them to know that personal information about you, which opens you up to an attack.
Yeah, and that becomes one of those do you read the terms and service thing.
Yeah. Like, I don't read the terms and service. I always just tell websites, you're only allowed to track this small amount of information, the only thing that I care about, right?
Yeah, that's South Park did a thing on that with Apple. And that like everyone else read the terms and services, but Kyle didn't, and so Kyle signed his life away to Apple, and they used him in like a human centipede thing.
Um, that's a very artistic way of showing the dangers, you know. It's not, no one's saying that it can get to that point, but there are dangers with it for sure.
It could
Anytime
get
you
to
give
that.
up your liberties, your privacy, that's what happens. They just keep getting more and more of it, and before you know it, you're theirs. And that is the same thing that we're seeing with the vaccination cards.
Yeah.
The second that you're required to do this is the second that you're going to start seeing problems later. You know, you can't allow your privacy to be given up, even if it sounds like it's in your benefit. If anyone's saying give us these liberties, it's going to help you. It short term, sure, it is helping you, but in the long term, it is not, because then it just says, oh well, you know, you allowed us to do this so we could stop terrorist attacks, or you allowed us to do this so that we could mitigate how many people got sick. Um, there's an issue with that because those liberties never get given back. And there's not a true way to require them to give them back either. Like, even if we said, okay, you can only do this for 7 months, that's not going to work, because then they're going to start extending that time out. You have to just not give those liberties out, period. The devil is in the details, and you have to pay attention to that.
Let's not bring the devil into this. He's got nothing to do with this.
Requiring people to show their vaccination card.
If anything, it's God's fault.
Yeah. Comparing it to the Holocaust is not an awful thing to do. Saying that it's worse or saying that it is outlandish and ridiculous. But
yeah.
Comparing it to it, there's no issue. That's true. That is how things could turn out. Are they going to? Not if we are educated about it and focus on it.
Yep, but I think this has been a pretty educational stream to this time.
Yeah, at least this last part.
So I dare say that we're good to end it. I don't really have anything else to talk about, do you?
Nah, nothing that I can think about.
All right. Well, this has been like almost an hour and 20-minute podcast. So I dare say this has been episode 18. Hopefully we won't have that long of a hiatus again, and we'll be back next week. But it all depends on what's going on in our lives.
Yes.
But I believe that is all, people. So we are going to go now.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye. Wait, setting up the raid thing as well. Yeah, but we're gonna be going. So hopefully things work out.
I remember saying, it's one thing that bugged me. Why do you ask us to say so many things?